Final update, I will be spoiling the ending. This is part 5, chapters 35 through the epilogue. Seiza tells Vin that the crew is splitting up, everyone is going their separate ways. It's looking a bit hopeless. Kelsier is basically considered a martyr among the Ska, which low-key, that's what he'd been working for. He was hope. He has now become this thing that they want to strive for. Vin is not done, and she's going to now break into this palace because there is more to do. The rebel cause is growing. As she's breaking in, Vin attacks and takes down 2 Inquisitors, which aside from the Lord Ruler, they've been like the big, bad, scary that you don't want to fight this entire book. She's then face to face with the Lord Ruler and tries to burn the 11th medal, which Kelsier left her, and she's confused, doesn't really know what it's doing, and then she's knocked out by an Inquisitor. When she comes to, the Lord Ruler has her father with him, who doesn't know that he's her father, and whenever the Lord Ruler reveals the truth, he has him brutally murdered. Sazed is also here captured. Vin and Sazed are able to fight their way out of the dungeons or prison. Once they're finally on their way out, Ellen shows up to save her with some guards. And she's like, oh, you came for me. And he's like, it looks like you had it handled. Pause on my recap, because I have decided I will continue on to the second book, but it's not going to be immediate because, like I said, I've got a big-ass TBR. And as much as I want to know what happens next, there are other books that I want to read first. But I bring that up to say, I'm really excited to see Vin and Ellen's dynamic. Now that he knows the truth about her, I feel she was able to put him in his place as she was Valette, but now him knowing the truth about her, just really excited to see how that all plays out. Also, I don't think he's making it out of the series alive. Back to the recap, Ellen has come. Vin now finds the medals that were taken from her when she was knocked out, and she's like, great, I'm gonna use these, I'm gonna fight my way out of this, and I'm gonna try to kill the Lord Ruler because I think I know how to do it. She breaks back into his throne room. A whole fight ensues, which I thought was very well done, super entertaining to read. I'm not going to try to recap it for you because this video would then be 10 minutes long, and I don't want that. Vin figures out that the Lord Ruler is both a Mistborn and also, I don't remember how you say it, but someone who burns like ferrochemical, and he combines these powers to make himself basically ultra powerful and appear young and strong forever. Vin is able to somehow pull on the mists and pull his ATM bracers off of his arms, which causes him to immediately grow weak and old. And as he is now vulnerable, she kills him with simply a wooden spear. And his final words were, by killing me, you have doomed yourselves. That is a very good cliffhanger. Color me intrigued. Sazed is going to record and report to the other keepers that the Lord Ruler was killed by a Ska who he oppressed. And Vin is real nervous about the information about her and how detailed it will be. And Sazed says something along the lines of, well, they don't need all the details immediately. Marsh describes how he became an Inquisitor, and it was really icky and complex. And Ellen is now in charge and going to establish some kind of new government. Excited to see how that works out in the next book. So my final thoughts on this book. I really enjoyed this. I thought the story was so interesting. I love when I can't spot any plot holes. I'm not saying there weren't any, but I love when I can't spot them, especially within fantasy, because it takes so much planning, and when an author follows through with that, I just think it's really exciting. I've heard a lot of people talk about how this is one of Sanderson's earliest works, and because of that his other writing is better, and I understand that. I started with this as my first Sanderson novel because I was told by multiple sources that this is where you need to start. And without having read any others, I did think this was a really good introduction. That being said, the beginning was still really difficult for me to get through and stay focused on. I am hoping that in the second book, it is a lot more Vin's point of view, because I found that so much easier to connect with, to stay focused on. I absorbed the information so much better when it was coming from her, and I think that's partially because as someone coming into this world and as everything being taught to Vin, reading it from her point of view, you're learning as she's learning, versus from Kelsier, he knows everything and at times he teaches, but a lot of the time he just knows what's happening and you're kind of expected to pick it up. And of course, that's a higher reading level. That's what we should be striving for. But I wanted to have a bit more fun while doing that. That's why I read fantasy. To be challenged, yes, but also to have a good time. I'm reading for enjoyment. If I'm not reading for enjoyment but learning, I'm reading Timothy Snyder or The Constitution. You know, like, if I'm reading fantasy, it's because I want to have a good time. When I'm going on to the second book, you will hear from me. Other than that, my next book is a palate cleanser, reading Wildfire by Hannah Grace.